Sticking out your gat for the Rizzler.
Tonight's podcast will be featuring the phrase, "Smoke it!"
I, not Char, am the new headmaster of the School of Athenia.
I need to get like some brass knuckles. One says chug, one says like put them together chugly.
The term alternate mode, alt mode for short, refers to whatever a transformer turns into, be it a vehicle, animal, everyday object, almost anything really. Where the toys are concerned, which alt modes are our favorites, least favorites, and what would we like to see more of? Welcome students to the 13th Chugcratic seminar. I am the Dean of Critique, Runestone. Sadly, the Dean of the Arts, IdArmed, couldn't make it. He's currently at a teacher parents conference at the School of Athenia. However, I am still joined by the Dean of Fabrication, definitely not Char.
It's good to be here. As Mr. Altmode himself, I am looking forward to this episode.
And much like Hot Wheels, leading the way is our headmaster, Kit Catastrophe.
Hello. I did the noise because I was in my alt mode.
What do you turn into, Kit?
Dude, I turned in. I'm literally just a repaint of Dark the Moon Air Raid. I'm just him, but purple.
Oh, okay. We're still going that lore? All right, then.
Yeah. That's the Kit lore.
That's the Kit lore. You transformed from an AirWalks airplane to be here.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So,
anyway, should we get started?
Yeah, we should probably get started. Do you want to talk more about alt modes before I bring up the thing, or do you just want to jump right in?
Well, why not just jump right in, I thought.
Yeah.
All right. Here is our presentation. Sorry, I'm a little lost here. Do we have a plan, or?
Well, we're going to talk about recent purchases first, aren't we?
Sorry, I'm just a little rusty. Okay, let's talk recent purchases. Who's up first?
You're not rusty. He's a cat. Anyway, I will start. I turned 23 recently, and
Doxing yourself, nice.
And so I only got one Transformers figure this year, but I think it was a very cool thing. I got myself the Tokyo Toy Show exclusive Dreadwing and Smoke Jumper, or rather Smoke Screen. Smoke Jumper is the RID version.
Hell yeah!
Yes. It is a deco I've wanted for a very long time. I've wanted the RTF Mindwipe sculpt from the beginning for a very long time. So I'm very happy to get my favorite version of it and to have it in the first place at the same time. And it brought to mind that I've noticed I very much enjoy collecting Bayverse era repaints of figures into late G1/G2 characters. It's a niche that sounds very niche, but it's surprisingly abundant as well.
I see. Are there any more examples of this?
Yeah, I ended up having them laid out in front of me. Most of the ones I have in my collection, but we have D2M Space Case, BotCon Sandstorm, and BotCon Electro, even though that's a repaint for Chug figure, but it's Bayverse era in my opinion. RTS Axor, obviously based on the
I have that one. How did I forget?
And there are a few more. One of the ones that's currently on my list is GDO Power Dive. I really want that one.
Ooh.
As I have said multiple times.
Purple highbrow, right?
Yes. Purple highbrow with very cool livery. Very much want.
I do love me liveries.
liver.
So Runestone, what about you? What has tickled your wallet lately?
All right, my purchases consist of the following: Star Raiders Road Pig to go with the Velocitron Road Rocket, and Road Pig is easily the better mold, I'll say that much. Both modes look cool, even if he's not a Harley Davidson this time. The colors look nicer than Crash Bars, that's who he's redecoed from, and being a Legacy Junkie on recolor, he can split into weapons and armor for other bots, including fellow Star Raider Lockdown. Next up is Studio
I'm
Series
afraid you cut
concept.
out, Runestone.
Oh, not again.
I think you cut out, Kit, because I could hear
Or
everything
perhaps it
Rune
is
was
an issue
saying.
with me.
I think it's a skill issue, Kit, honestly.
I
So
don't
are
know.
you saying, Rune?
As I was saying, the next one is Studio Series concept art Sunstreaker. Another
Cool.
good-looking figure, iffy yellow matching notwithstanding. A simple but neat transformation, and a fairly clever use of his accessories with his twin blasters combining into the engine mounted on his back that his namesake is known for. Third, we have Studio Series TF1 Optimus. The alt mode is rough. There are other figures of one Optimus with cleaner truck modes. The robot mode is better, but the choice of tan grey plastic makes it look like he's suffering from photo degradation right out of the box. The axe is cool, though. And lastly...
That's one of the main issues why I just haven't picked him up yet. He just looks kind of grody.
Well, I know someone who looks
I might
much
go for the
cooler.
mainline one instead, but given my recent purchases, I'm probably not going to get any version of him.
Honestly, none of the TF1 figures have really interested me so far, up until I saw the Dean of the Arts custom version of Megatron recently.
Oh yeah, check out IdArmed's Twitter and Instagram if you wanna see it. It's very nice.
It
He
is a
repainted
very
the Studio Series TF1 Megatron into Pretender Megatron.
yes, and it's a very cool design. It actually it makes me kind of want the toy, but like I want his version.
Oh, I want the toy regardless, but I'll save that for an episode on the movie itself.
Right. I still need to see it.
Well, as I was saying, there is one Transformers toy who I quite like the look of, and I think it looks much cooler. The Prime Changer version of Sentinel Prime. I love this toy. It has one of the best, most convincing Cybertronian jet modes in recent years. And the robot nicely homages past Sentinel Primes. He's well armed, posable. All four figures I've discussed actually have good articulation. But my only major gripe with Sentinel Prime is that the backpack could peg in a bit stronger. But otherwise, I really like the figure. And this won't be the last time I discuss Sentinel in this episode, by the way.
Yeah, I have that toy too, and I like it a lot. He has a very simple but substantial transformation. Honestly, I like him so much. I'm not even sure I'm going to get the Studio Series version. Like, yeah, albeit it's bigger and it can do the battle mode thing, but I don't know. I'm perfectly happy with the mainline version. As far as my recent purchases go, I got some cool things. Most recently, I got the Barrage and Chop Shop 2-pack, the Legacy United version, and they're decent. I really enjoy their colors. They're just nice little fiddle figures. But going back, I've gotten Legacy Hotshot, so the Cybertron version. He's a little weird, but I have warmed up to him, and I consider him the best of the Cybertron updates, though that is faint praise on my part. And the one I'm most excited about is Unique Toys Dumber, which is their take on Revenge of the Fallen Mudflap. It's not a very movie accurate take, especially in car mode. You know, they which is kind of weird considering their recent Dino offering. It looks like a spitting image of a Ferrari, but Uh, Mudflap does not look like a Chevrolet whatsoever. But he's very nice. His transformation's a little fiddly, where things just sort of flop around until you're done. But he's a good size, a good price, lots of die cast. It's a really good introduction to unique toys, I think. And as far as pre-orders go, I have recently pre-ordered Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime after IdArmed took a couple pictures of his copy. I was very skeptical, but then I realized, I paid $120 for Missing Link. 89 ain't bad for a Commander class figure, And I recently, just today, I pre-ordered Legacy Dino King off of AmiAmi. They have him for a little cheaper than retail price, and I can wait the 6 months for him. But that's about it as far as my little bunkering car Bombia goes.
I must say, I feel like flopping around until you're done sounds like a very in-character transformation for Skids.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, the Commander Optimus Prime, Commander Studio Series Optimus Prime, I keep hearing good things about it. I'm still holding off because I simply have too many Optimus Primes already.
Yeah, a few years ago I was in your place, but then I was just like, if I'm gonna have a lot of Optimus Primes, why bother? Just like, if an Optimus Prime looks good, I'm gonna get it. I have like 20 Optimus Primes. One more ain't gonna hurt.
I suppose so. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it comes down to him or the Missing Link.
I'm not gonna steer you away from Missing Link if that's what you're worried about.
No. I'm simply thinking, which one will I end up getting first, if at all?
I
end up getting first. I'm kind of Bayverse maxing right now.
So, Runestone, this episode was your idea. Why don't you tell us how this little exploration of all things alternate modes will go today?
I just did so in the intro. Weren't you paying attention?
No, I wasn't.
Well, to reiterate, round 1, we discuss our favorite alternate modes. Round 2, least favorite. And round 3, all modes we would like to see more of.
All right, so are we ready to get into round 1?
Yes.
I sure am.
All right, it looks like I'm up first for my favorite alt mode of all time. I have mentioned this in a particular review. It's Cybertron Override. Override is one of those characters where I fell in love with them just simply because of the alternate mode. Like, she doesn't even have to transform. I could just stick her in car mode and just be happy forever. It's sleek, it's powerful, it's sharp. I love the angled fenders and the beefy tires. The lines of it are just so seductive, and it just screams speed and agility. I love it so much. I understand why Legacy did what it did, but it looks so clumsy compared to the original. But, the Legacy version prioritizes robot mode, but for this design in particular, I wish they had prioritized the vehicle mode. It's so good. It's so, so, so good.
One day, I would like to see a version of this toy where they actually put the headlight, like they actually sculpt the headlights inside of the feet.
Oh, and cover it up with translucent plastic?
Yes. Maybe if we get an MP Turbo Prime, was it?
Nitro Convoy.
Nitro Convoy. Why did I think Prime? I'm stupid. Yes, maybe one day if we ever get a Masterpiece Nitro Convoy, we'll get that. In our wildest dreams.
Hopefully. I don't really have a whole lot left to say about Override.
Well, I mean, I do agree with you that the legacy figure does look a little misproportioned in alt mode. Like the cockpit window looks too small, and the lack of would you call it gold paint or basically
Yeah,
metallic paint on the headlights, which end up on her feet? It looks a little off as well.
yeah. It and the worst part is Toy Hacks didn't even add stickers for it. I mean, it's an odd shape to
Ooh.
do, so I guess it makes sense. But it was the one thing I wanted from uh for Override, for Legacy Override. It's just something to pick out the headlights. Maybe I'll have to do it myself.
Kit starts his customizing arc.
Do you prefer Override in her original colors or the GTS ones?
The original, definitely. Um, I mean, it's the same colors, like the same color palette, just in different places and in different amounts. But I just like the more primarily red version, especially like look at the headlights. I like the black frame with the gold quote unquote glass. It just looks more like traditional headlight assembly than what it does on the GTS version. But I mean, the GTS version is still cool. I still intend on picking it up someday. But I would, if I never get around to it, I don't feel like I would be missing out.
Would you buy the legacy version if it was like redecoed in the GTS colors? Like if it was sold as either Override GTS or even Shattered Glass Elite 1?
I would prefer they just call it Nitro Convoy myself. But yeah, I'd buy it. I'd buy it.
I mean, do you not have any like? I know you wanted to talk about this specifically, but do you not have any like runners up in terms of favorite alt modes?
Oh God. Not off the top of my head, but of course, Megatron in the back is one of my favorite takes on Megatron. He turns into a fucking Batmobile.
Yeah, especially in Galvatron's colors, it looks so sick.
Oh yeah, that's a minor grail for me.
Same here, same here.
Same here, same here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Runestone, I see you have picked an absolute menagerie of alternate modes that you count as your favorites. Would you like? Are you ready to go next?
Oh yes, buckle up, we're in for a wild ride.
All right.
Right. So, no surprise, most of my picks on this first slide, at least, are from a certain childhood series of mine, Beast Wars. There were loads I could have gone with, but hopefully what I've chosen is enough to convey why it was, and is, to this day, an incredible toy line. For starters, a lot of the beast modes simply look cool, like the original Cyber Shark, a hammerhead, and below him, a Jetstorm, a dragonfly. And it's not just the organic beasts, but also the transmetals like Depth Charge, a manta ray, Cheetor on the top right, and Transmetal 2 Megatron, one of, if not my favorite, Dragon Transformers ever. Yes, the chrome hasn't held up on a lot of the transmetals, but the deco and designs themselves are just so dynamic. And we compliment the live-action movie toys for their intricate detailing. The Transmetal 2s are on a whole other level, as they try to work in as much asymmetry as physically possible from head to toe. Even if you don't like the aesthetic, you've got to respect the level of craftsmanship here. As for Fusors, Silverbolt, the wolf-eagle creature, is my favorite of the batch, as he blends his respective beast halves perfectly. More than that, when it comes to Beast Wars in general, no matter how you feel about the real-life animals, some of the beast mode choices are insane. You have a giraffe, a rabbit, a penguin, and especially when we get to the insects, there's a dragonfly, mosquito, praying mantis, earwig, boll weevil, and well, this last one's actually a crustacean, but a pill bug. Granted, Retrax and some of the others didn't turn out great, but come on, when are we going to see alt modes like these again? Furthermore, the fact that they were even able to get substantial robot modes out of some of these creatures is wild, and nowhere is that truer than to the right of Jetstorm, Beast Wars Neo Colada. Next to him, we can also throw in Night Viper from the sequel series Beast Machines. In terms of turning snakes into humanoid robots, a Cobra is pretty much your best bet, as most of the robot can be stored within the hood. Despite how a lot of media tends to depict them, the hoods on actual Cobras aren't permanently expanded. But they didn't really have much choice here now, did they? Night Viper, being techno-organic, arguably gives him a slight advantage, as they aren't staying as true to the real animal, so they can play with the design further. And then there's Rise of the Beast Core Series Airraiser at the top. The transformation is why that toy is so great, and it results in one of the best bird transformers I've seen. It's a techno-organic falcon, one that's proportionate with a fairly impressive wingspan for its size. I put it as one of my top purchases of 2023 for a reason. Before we go on to the next slide, have you got anything to say about any of these?
Yeah, I own Night Viper, and he has one of the cleverest transformation schemes I've ever seen. And like, if I was going to recommend any Beast Machines toy, he would be within the top 5. I say that as if I own more than 4 Beast Machines toys.
Yeah,
but
go on.
Go ahead. No, I was going to pivot to something else.
Well, I was just going to quickly say, to elaborate on what Kit is referring to, the tail transforms into the legs by pulling it through the body, and there's a halfway stopping point that acts as a locking mechanism that allows you to fall like each end of the tail down to form the legs. It's incredible.
Yeah. But I have to disagree with your taste on one issue. I think Quick Strike is the better Fusor. You can't tell me that a snake instead of a scorpion tail isn't the coolest thing ever.
Hey, I didn't say he was bad. Call him a tie then. Anything else?
I just wanted to say I have Depth Charge and I have Transmetal Cheetor. They're both very cool. I like them very much. Transmetals of the Beast Wars toys are some of my favorites. I do, for the exact reasons you described. I always love the techno-organic detailing and the chrome. It really sets it apart from the original Beast Wars toys. And I also think I think that Cheetor's transformation is pretty cool. The way they got around doing doing their head becomes the chest transformation and not doing that with the new Cheetor. I just think it's cool.
Can't disagree with that.
I would like to strike something from the record. I erroneously said that Quick Strike was the coolest Fusor. I was wrong. It's clearly Injector.
That's very true.
Anyway, Garrett has a question for Runestone. To Rune, opinion on the Legacy update of Transmetal 2 Megatron.
Well, Garrett, I generally like the figure. Aside from the weird neck, because it's like, from the way it's crafted, you can tell that dragon neck is going to become an arm with like that one chunk being a shoulder joint. But beyond that, I think he's okay. When I'm going to review him, I have no bloody idea.
I felt that. Let's move on, shall we?
Yes, I'm just
to something more vehicular.
Oh.
Yes, onto vehicles. We have 2 Decepticons from Robots in Disguise 2015 at the top. Thunderhoof I picked more for his novelty, as I think he's the only tractor transformer out there. And
Yes.
they made it work.
There is
on.
one. There is another. The Minicon.
Who's that?
Technically he's a backloader, but it's based on a but the backloader is based on a tractor chassis. It is that one Minicon from Transformers Cybertron whose name escapes me because the mold has been used for like 5 different guys.
Chat, are we counting this? Are we counting this, chat? There's only 2
Wait, do you
people
mean
in chat.
Sledge?
I think.
I mean, at the very least, we'll say that tractors are not very commonly seen alt modes in this franchise. How about that?
Oh no, I'm not talking about Sledge. I'm talking about the Minicon. No, Sledge is a front loader.
But the thing about Thunderhoof is that they made it work by giving him an anthropomorphic Dio robot mode as a way of dealing with those landscape rakes.
Panhandler, that's his name. That's
right.
one of the names of the mold. Panhandler.
Well, I have to check that one out later. The con next to Thunderhoof is Fracture. Motorcycle transformers are a challenge given their slim nature. It makes it hard for them to get a full robot mode out of them. But Fracture, or at least his Earth mode toys, are all fairly clean. Maybe the seat's a little wide in the case of the Warrior class figure, but otherwise not too shabby. Next row, Sideswipe is my favorite of the G1 Autobot cars, and turning into a sleek red Lamborghini Countach certainly helps. Next to him, Alternator's Dead End. Alternators and Binaltech were lines featuring robots that turned into 1/24 scale licensed vehicles with such incredible attention to detail. They were basically transforming model cars. Sideswipe in those lines was a Dodge Viper SRT-10 and was later retooled into Dead End, a hardtop competition coupe. I still want that car, by the way. Black chassis, silver stripes, and clear blood red windows. It's so drop-dead gorgeous. Then we have a pair of Galvatrons. On the left is the redeco of the leader class Energon Megatron. I already love the gunship with its giant engines, angular wings, and frowning cockpit window. And in Galvatron's colors, like, is it any wonder that toy, along with Cybertron Galvatron for that matter, is one of my holy grails to this day? Then there's BotCon Shattered Glass Galvatron. The Eurocopter Dolphin that a Cybertron evac turns into is already pretty solid and is loaded with features like the winch, spinning rotors, the missile launchers, and landing gear. But done as a heroic Galvatron, it works so much better than it should. There's another episode that I wish to discuss him further, by the way. But for now, bottom row. Megatron's Cybertronian jet mode from the last night is frankly what he should have been in the first live-action film. Foreshadowing. The super sleek profile, interesting details like the backwards thrusters, and the deco that just works. If you want my full thoughts, check out my review of the Voyager class figure. Then there's Generation Sky Shadow, or Black Shadow, retooled from Thunderwing, just like the original toy. Whereas his first toy's jet mode was Cybertronian, this one is reportedly adapted from the F-22 Raptor.
I can see it.
In any case,
with like a forward delta wing. I won't go into autism yet.
Well, Thunderwing may be the better known con thanks to the Marvel Comics, but again, black, red, and silver. Can't go wrong there. Even though I've had this next toy for just over a week now, the TF1 Prime Changer Sentinel Prime has a pretty elegant jet mode, possibly more so than the upcoming Studio Series Voyager. But in all honesty, I think we need a better look at that one first. Before we move on to the last slide, anything to say about those?
I have to say it is shocking how brilliantly how brilliant Megatron's jet mode turned out in the last night when he was supposed to turn into a dragon from the beginning. They really did a good job, and the toy is just simply fantastic. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
I want to say Galvatron, Energon, Megatron / Galvatron alt mode is very nice. It reminds me that the shape of it reminds me of a Klingon spaceship from Star Trek. Does anyone else see that with the long nose?
I know what you're talking about, but I've never seen Star Trek.
Nor me.
All right, Wen. So yes, very very nice alt mode. I'll be totally honest. I'm kind of lukewarm on Sentinel Prime. I'm not like I don't see the hype for it. Maybe it's just the shapes of it. It's not really, to my eye, it's not particularly exciting as an alt mode. It's just kind of a Cybertronian jet. Black Shadow is cool. I like Black Shadow. His drone, very 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 neat integration of the old Pretender gimmick. And I like that he does the thing where his feet become the jet exhausts. Very cool. Though him being an F-22 is dubious, or based on an F-22 is dubious. He's more he's more of a store brand stealth fighter.
We have an F-22 at home.
The F-22 at home, exactly.
Fracture is one toy that I am really meaning to try someday, but he's just so expensive on the aftermarket. It's insane. But yeah, Evac being repainted into Shatterglass Galvatron is a fantastically brilliant choice. It's so clever, and he looks great. It's a match made in heaven.
Oh, trust me, I want to talk about that toy in more depth in a future episode, but that's for another time.
All
and
right.
incidentally, Fracture, Warrior Class Fracture, is the toy that I'm working on a review for right now.
Oh. Wink.
Ooh. Cross promo.
Like we don't have enough plugs in here already. But, of course, if I had to pick an absolute favorite alt mode, no contest, it goes to my favorite Transformers toy of all time, Cybertron Sideways, or Noise Maze if you're collecting Galaxy Force. Here we have an alien or Planet X space fighter. This mold has been reused several times. Noise Maze mass production type, Ratbat, Scourge, and the sweeps. And I've got to say, oh boy, Takeo Ejima, the designer of this toy, is an absolute Chad for cooking up this goated alt mode. I mean it. We have a certified gem alert, folks. This sleek yet angular profile, the borderline zero undercarriage junk, that Halloween color scheme, as many call it, and the ability to deploy those blades is nothing short of peak. Who needs mid or even cold tier alt modes like Cybertron Menethor or Metroplex? Foreshadowing. Next year, there is apparently a Cybertron-themed capsule line, and one of the leaked listings is Sideways. I don't expect it to beat the original, but hopefully it won't be a bunch of chug slop and preferably chugalicious.
So when you say that he has no undercarriage, one could say that he's lacking a gyat.
I have no idea what that is, but whatever.
No, Char, he spread his gyat paper thin.
Oh, you're right, you're right.
The ultimate goatsy.
This is why the Triple Takeover podcast gets more views than us.
Yeah, that's the reason. I would have a lot to say, but all I can think about is putting a bullet in my head after that. So, Cybertron Sideways. I was going to unironically use the word goated, but you kind of killed that for me. It's great. It's fantastic. It is one of the best figures in the toy line by far. In a toy line that I hold in very high esteem. So the biggest crime about this toy is that only 2 of its myriad versions are easily obtainable. Because you got 2 of them that were convention exclusive, and 1 of them that is limited to 500 pieces as a DVD pack-in. And he's the most sought after of those DVD pack-ins because he was actually in the show.
Mass production type. Yeah, right.
I know. Yeah. So a lot of people know about Ixilion Red version from TJ Omega's videos. That's how I found out about him in the first place. But he's actually very trivial to get. You just have to be patient. You just have to wait for one to show up. But you will be able to afford it. I spent a little less than $100 on mine, and I thought that was a fair price. But Noise Maze mass production type will cost a pretty penny.
What kind of money are we talking, to be clear?
Over $1,000.
Bloody fucking hell.
Yeah. Maybe you can find one for like 700, but it will be one of the most costliest figures you could look for. Honestly, it would be easier to hunt down the botcom versions, I'd say. Could Army build those sweeps for the cost of 1 mass production type?
I mean, did they come in a pack of 3?
I think so, but
Well,
I imagine they don't get sold as a 3-pack very often.
True. I was going to say, you could get 2 packs of 3, and then you'd have 6, and that'd be a pretty respectable Army build.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't really have anything to say about this alt mode that has not already been said. It's very nice. It's a Cybertronian / alien alt mode in the Transformers, which actually looks aerodynamic. Insane. It's I like the bat design of it. Obviously, it became Rat Bat, so I guess that was intentional. It's a very nice alt mode, and I can see why it belongs to Rune's favorite figure, one of Rune's favorite figures.
It's literally him.
It is literally him. It is his Ryan Gosling. One could even say that Cybertron Sideways is Rune's Roman Empire.
I as much as I am kind of looking forward to seeing a new toy of this character, well, I have my doubts because, like I said, I don't think it'll live up to the original. At the very least, I hope it turns out better than. I hope it turns out better than Vector Prime, at least.
Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see if they try and retool it from something.
I expect nothing.
That's probably the best mindset to go in with modern Chug, especially when they do updates of things you like.
Yeah. At least Hotshot turned out acceptably.
Yeah. Anyway,
all right.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, it's you, since IdArmed's not here.
Well, as one could describe Rune's picks as a menagerie, one could probably describe my picks as an armory, or even a motor pool.
I would just call it a hangar.
Very true. A hangar of choices. And before we go into my picks, I thought I would talk a tiny bit about about what I look for in an alt mode. And these are subjective standards, but these are the things that I have identified that I think endear an alt mode to me. And I've even compiled a nice little acronym, NIB. And it stands for novelty, which describes the uniqueness of the concept behind the alt mode. Is it something that has been done before? Is it something that's very common? Or is it something that we don't see very often? And it thus makes it interesting. Integration. How well the robot mode is integrated into the vehicle mode. How much of the robot actually forms the vehicle is a bit of a pet peeve of mine when it comes to a lot of Transformers figures. And then believability. Believability is a little nuanced. It describes how convincing an alt mode is in whatever it is trying to be. AKA, it doesn't look like a robot doing yoga, as we will see later. There are examples of.
So what you're saying is an example of a figure that would pass your scheme with flying colors. Yeah, you would say that, Universe Silverbolt would be your favorite figure of all time, right? Okay,
I can hear the crickets chirping in my head.
The sting of this is kind of
no.
You've taken the wind out of my sails now that I've found out you don't even know what you didn't even know what that toy looked like.
I was, because when you said Universe Silverbolt, I didn't know if you were talking about the original one or the fucking 2007 one. I thought you were talking about the fucking one from with the purple Silverbolt from 2003.
No, I'm talking about the shitty one.
Yes, no, that would. No, he unfortunately fails the second category of believability as he transforms into a brick that happens to be situated underneath a Concorde-style aircraft or an SR-71-style aircraft. Also, the original Universe Silverbolt was the repaint of Beast Wars Silverbolt, Garrett.
I didn't know you could read the chat.
Yes, I can. Anyway, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I will be starting with my picks, and I feel like we should start at the beginning with arguably the father of all jetformers, if we count its original iteration, that being the GOAT himself, G1 Jetfire. As, of course, if you know your history, designed by
Kawamori?
Shoji Kawamori himself. It's a original design, partially based on a F-14. It was designed from the ground up to transform the way it does for the most part, and it has an excellent silhouette, little to no undercarriage. And given the time that this toy was made in, before things like CAD were common, and the original prototype of this toy was in fact carved from wood.
Bless you.
Thank you. The original toy was carved from wood. The original prototype of this toy was carved from wood. This is an incredible figure, and still stands up pretty well today. And the DNA of it, you can see in modern iterations of the original design, that being modern VF1 toys.
Suck it, Harmony Gold.
Yeah. So yeah. We shall now move on to seemingly a bunch of picks from the second and third Michael Bay movies. I didn't intend for this, but it just kind of happened.
Actually, none of these came from Dark of the Moon. It was all Revenge of the Fallen and the spin-off line.
Oh, you're right. Because I was thinking of, in Terradive's case, I was thinking of Space Case.
Oh yeah, okay.
But so we'll start with Mind Wipe. Mind Wipe is rather unique in my opinion, as he is the only example of a Transformer that I can. No, there are others, but he is a somewhat rare example of a Transformer based on a F-117 stealth attack aircraft, which obviously has its very unique geometric shape that was intended to reflect away radar waves.
Impress your
way.
friends and confound your enemies.
Exactly. It was designed in a way that was meant to be stealthy. And do you want to know a funny little tidbit about why it looks this way?
Why?
So the way it was shaped, the reason it's shaped in such a way is literally because the computers were not powerful enough to calculate a smoother shape. It is literally low poly.
Well, I guess that's a good thing because it looks cool as hell.
It does. And the way it transforms, the robot and the vehicle are very well integrated together, which is something I, of course, give high marks for. And it has minimal undercarriage, of course, as well. And its combination gimmick with, help me out here. What's the name of the drone guy? Stalker.
Sky Stalker.
Sky Stalker. Its combination with gimmick with Sky Stalker. It is a fun gimmick, and it harkens to the D-21 drone, which was a drone that was carried on top of the SR-71 aircraft. You can look that up for your homework. So overall, pretty cool design. I'm not the biggest fan of the tattoos, but I don't hate them.
It was the style at the time.
It was the style of the time. I don't know why they're on the. I don't know why they're on the Dreadwing repaint though.
Oh, probably just something to do with the paint mask.
Probably. But we will move on to Terradive. Terradive is somewhat unique in being a forward swept wing jet fighter, which is a real thing. And the reason they do that in real life is because it gives you more maneuverability at the cost of stability.
Everyone knows the real reason is just because it looks sick as hell.
That is also true. It does look sick as hell. And as it is rare in real life, it is also pretty rare on Transformers figures, though I can think of a couple. Animated Starscream comes to mind. It doesn't seem to be based on any particular real life aircraft.
It's a Sukhoi Su-76, I think.
No, it isn't. It's listed as that on TF Wiki, but it doesn't look like that, in my opinion. It's close, but it's not like it's. I don't think it's like.
Sorry, I even got the number wrong.
It's fine. I'll be honest. This one I just think is kind of neat. It does have the problem of having a pretty noticeable undercarriage. Marks off for that, but I'd still give it a solid B+, and I like it. But we have a very well executed alt mode next to him, that being Revenge of the Fallen Ransack. Excellent figure, excellently integrated robot mode. And one of the very few Transformers biplanes. Can you think of another Transformers biplane? Because I certainly can't. Not in terms of toys.
No, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
The robot mode is almost entirely integrated into the vehicle mode, with the unfortunate exception of the arms underneath the lower wings.
The arms look very frame-y from below.
Could make the argument that they are some kind of weapons rack, but it's dubious.
They did their best.
They did, and they were working with Scout class, so I can't exactly be mad.
Yeah, like seriously, tell me if you were doing this job, tell me you would do any better.
I can't, but I can make the criticism. To be specific, this alt mode is based on the Albatross biplane, which was a very common airplane used by the Germans during the Second World War. Sorry, the First World War, not the Second World War. God, could you imagine? The Albatross. And interestingly, the alternate color scheme, whose name escapes me,
Dive Bomb,
is based on the color scheme, the livery used by Manfred von Richthofen himself, otherwise known as the Red Baron. And what's interesting is, while the Red Baron is mostly known in popular culture for using a Fokker DR-1 triplane, he did in fact use the Albatross biplane for the majority of his career, or for a large period of it. So, I'm going to give them points for that. I don't know if it was intentional, if they just had a biplane like, fuck it, we'll give it the Red Baron colors, or if there was a history buff on the team and was like, this is the plane the Red Baron flew, so we'll make a color scheme of it. But either way, I'm going to give them the marks for it. And lastly on this side, we have RTS Lugnut. Lugnut is he's a well-executed, what I'm going to call a diesel punk design, because he has the aesthetic, he has the World War II aesthetic, but he does not correspond, in my opinion, to any particular aircraft. One could say he's a B-17, but the jet turbines on the shoulders and the rocket pods in the wings really suggest that he is not. But that said, he is still a nicely executed jet bomber, and not something you see very often. This style of bomber aircraft isn't very common in the Transformers toy line, so it gets points for novelty.
He looks like something you could build in Kerbal Space Program.
I suppose so. To me, he kind of makes me think of something you'd see in like the Command & Conquer games.
Ooh, yeah.
Does anyone, before we switch to the next slide, does anyone have any notes? Oh wait, no, I forgot to talk about Highbrow. Highbrow is sort of in the same boat as Lugnut in that, yes, he does seem to be based on a P-38 aircraft, P-38 fighter from the Second World War. He's a twin boom fighter, which is, once again, a prop plane and a twin boom, very unique in Transformers. I don't think any other Transformer figure turns into a twin boom fighter aircraft.
I can safely say you're right.
The spinning rotors, always fun. I've gone over my love of spinning rotor gimmicks before, even if it doesn't really have the momentum to carry it. And the corresponding exposed radiators are not historically accurate, but they are a fun embellishment of the design, we'll say. So yes, now, does anyone have any questions or notes about any of my choices?
Well, in regards to the biplane Transformer, it's such a shame that we didn't get the Blue Maximus redeco that was planned for Hunt for the Decepticons.
Yes.
The Pterodive mold, I'll admit, while I love that mold, a lot of it pertains more to just the transformation rather than the alt mode per se. And all I can really add to this is that as depth charge, the depth charge redeco, it looks absolutely phenomenal.
Oh
I
yes,
love the
yes,
colors
I've
on
seen
that
that.
toy. And the last two I can comment on are, well, the Mindwipe and Skystalker duo. I have the Mindwipe mold, but I have it as Reveal the Shield Strafe. And with Skystalker, I've experienced both him and Sunspot. But I will say, if we're talking brilliant or just gorgeous-looking redecos, GDO Laserbeak, anybody?
Oh yes, oh yes.
I am the Skystalkerless Virgin.
I've also had Skystalker. Well, not. I think I have Skystalker somewhere in my collection. I can't remember where, but I know I've had Sunspot. Sunspot was one of my childhood figures, and as we mentioned, I have now got Tokyo Toy Show Smokescreen.
I would like to get the Power Dive redeco of Highbrow.
Oh, same. It's very cool looking. It's very nice. I didn't include it here because I didn't think it particularly pertained to my feelings about the alt mode, but it is a very nice deco.
I remember when I was a kid, I got Revenge of the Fallen Scalpel for Christmas, and he came out of the box broken.
Oh yeah.
As he was notorious for showing up. So my mom took me to Kmart to exchange it, and the second scalpel ended up broken right out the box too. So this time, instead of getting another scalpel, I went and got Ransack, and 10-year-old me was absolutely blown away by it. I remember going home with Ransack in my hands, just thinking, this is a perfect transformer. Just because like his vehicle mode was super clean, his robot mode was really cool, and his transformation was clever. I really enjoy Ransack. I still hold him in a very high regard.
He is a very cool figure. I want to get. Unfortunately, mine is totaled. The one I have from my childhood collection. So I need to get another one at
Sad.
some point. Very sad. Very very sad. Little Char did not know what he had.
You could write a song out of that.
I could. But I very much intend to one day pick up a Ransack and the other one.
Yeah.
I just think of him as a shiny Ransack, honestly. Anyway, shall we move to the next slide?
Yeah.
Right. So we have a couple more picks. Less aircraft focused this time. Only one. I felt like I should expand my horizons with my picks a little bit. Be a bit more varied. So the first one we have is Armada. Armada Demolisher. Armada Demolisher, I think, is pretty interesting because he is somewhat rare in being a SPAA platform that transforms, not a tank. And you can see that he's an SPAA platform from the general structure with the weapon actuators, we'll say, off to the side. And he appears to be holding surface-to-air missiles and machine guns on his weapon arms. I don't think he's based on a particular SPA design. I've seen a bunch that he could be compared to, but I don't think he's a specific one. But I think he's neat. His alt mode is very well integrated with his robot mode. You know, pretty much everything of Demolisher turns into something in the vehicle mode, which I very much like. And vice versa, everything in vehicle mode turns into something on Demolisher's robot mode.
Except for the chair.
Except the chair. The chair is the exception. So yeah. Next up, we have Dark of the Moon Skyhammer. Very, in my opinion, quite interesting because he appears to be a NATO-ified Mi-24, otherwise known as the Hind. And what I mean by NATO-ified is that he looks like a hind if it was produced by a factory in like Nebraska or wherever wherever America produces its aircraft. It has like the flat lines and the sharp angles that you expect from a Western aircraft, but it has the overall shape and structure of a Mi-24, which I think is quite interesting. And I don't know if that was intentional, but it definitely seems like it has the stepped cockpit and the double intakes, and the overall shape definitely is that of an Mi-24. So I think it's pretty cool. We have ROTF Chop Saw. Once again, very, very well integrated. Another figure where everything on the vehicle becomes something on the robot for the most part, except for the seat, I think. And in my notes, all I have written is Motorbike Go Burr. Then we have ROTF Lockdown. Another cool design. This one, I just think it's a cool car design. I think it did well. Whoever designed this did well in translating animated lockdowns, car mode, into something that would be somewhat more believable in a live action setting. Obviously, it's not something that you wouldn't look twice at. It's definitely very, very customized, but you can imagine this existing in real life in some degree. And then, of course, we have Armada Tidal Wave himself. Armada Tidal Wave is very cool. He reminds me a lot of the SDF-1 from Macross. He has the vibe of a very, very large spaceship carrier. I just really enjoyed the scale that this figure implies. The size of the bridge, the landing deck, everything about it makes me imagine a huge, huge spaceship. And I think that's very cool. And the gimmicks it has help sell that, in my opinion. All the spinning turrets and the raising aircraft deployment platform, I think, help sell the scale. So
all he's missing is a catapult.
All he's missing is a catapult. Yes, a spring-loaded catapult would be the cherry on top. So yeah, those are all my picks. Does anyone have any notes?
I can't say that I do. All of these are pretty nice toys.
Yeah.
I've experienced all these except the Skyhammer mold.
Mm-hmm.
He has a very unique transformation.
He does. That's why I like him. Part of why I like him.
So yeah, now that you've just ejaculated all over the U.S. military-industrial complex, we can move on to.
Half of these were Russian.
Okay, the Cold War. The Cold War.
Okay.
We can move on to our least favorite picks.
All right.
Mine isn't a particular example. It's just a broad category. I don't like base modes.
Ooh.
I don't know if this is controversial, but I just don't really get very much enjoyment out of base modes whatsoever. Maybe I would have if I was like a teeny tiny little baby playing with toys on the carpet like I used to in days long past, but I don't know. I just don't get a lot. I just don't get a lot of enjoyment out of these. Like, and most of them don't even look that good. Like, look at Metroplex here. He looks like an asshole. Stop doing that, Metroplex.
The problem I have with a lot of base modes is they don't look like functional bases.
Yeah.
They like that's the issue with anything that like tries to transform into a building is how do you make that look interesting? How do you make that a play feature?
Yeah.
You just have it open
The only
up?
one that I would definitely say is an exception is Fortress Maximus, the original G1 figure. Like he makes it work. Like you have to suspend your disbelief a lot because like he's supposed to turn into a city, but like you can definitely see what they're going for, like plain as day.
Yeah, he has the
Whereas
shapes for it.
yeah. Whereas the rest, they're just like, okay, maybe these could work as like temporary defensive platforms, but I don't know. Like,
You know what I don't get with all of these. So a few of them are meant to be like gun platforms, like direct fire gun platforms, because
yeah,
they have all the guns sticking out. What I wonder is which side are you supposed to stand on? Like what side are you supposed to stand on so you're not getting shot back at? Because that's what I always assume the idea of a base mode is. It's like you said, it's a temporary defense platform. It's something you smack down in an active battlefield or somewhere that's about to become a battlefield so that your guys can hide behind it and shoot their guns.
yeah. Like if like this picture of Power Master Optimus Prime to the right, all the guns are facing forward, but that's where all the ramps and stuff are. So
Exactly.
kind of defeats the purpose.
The exception I will make, I think, as well, is Generation 1 Optimus Prime. I think pulls it off well because he's not a base, he's a repair bay.
Yeah, that just so happens to have a gun on it.
Yeah.
And that gun can swivel 360 degrees. So
Exactly.
it's not like it only has to go one way.
And if we're talking about the same thing, that gun can also just be interpreted as like a welding torch or something.
Yeah. But as far as G1 the G1 Metroplex design goes, I far prefer him as being like this mobile, like a land-based aircraft carrier, like a
Oh, yes,
mobile
for
runway.
sure.
I love that. It's so unique and wild and weird, but the base mode just sucks.
Yeah.
I do have a dishonorable mention in mind that is completely separate from this. Kingdom Mirage. It is obvious to everyone that I'm a huge F1 fan, and Kingdom Mirage is an atrocious facsimile of an F1 car. It doesn't look like any car from any era. It doesn't even look like a freaking Indy car. It just wears like certain design elements of F1 cars, like the front wing, as like this, as like a mask, and to hide the ugliness behind.
One
It's
could even
this-
say it's a skin suit.
Yes, it is a skin suit.
Yes,
Hollowed out.
you appear to have the same relationship with Kingdom Mirage as I do with Studio Series Bumblebee Movie Blitzwing.
Yeah, I would say so. It's just like I know what an F1 car looks like, and that's not it. It's lumping, it's clumsy, I'm not even going to begrudge the fact that it doesn't have a halo, because what would you do with it on a Transformer? But I collect little die-cast models of F1 cars. I have Oscar Piastri's 2023 McLaren right here on my desk, and it is a beautiful work of art. But Kingdom Mirage is not it. It's not even in the same ballpark, to mix my metaphors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Garrett. Base modes just have so little creativity in terms of what a base is. That actually brings us nicely to the next slide. But before we
Well, hang on.
move on, yeah, Runestone. I feel like you have something to say about base modes.
Well, the thing is, going back to G1 Fortress Maximus for a moment, I think, well, on top of his size, of course, he gets by on the amount of play that he has. So even if he doesn't have a stellar looking base mode or city mode or whatever, at the very least, he feels like it. There's lots of things you can do with him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
and a lot of them have to have stuff to do with the other gimmicks. Like the elevator, the ramp goes in the same direction as the other ramps. So like you could imagine like there's like this big freeway coming off of him or something.
I do find it funny though, with Car Robots Fortress Maximus. You were in the adverts encouraged you to use him with the full size Car Brother toys, and the scale is just so funny to me.
Shall we move on?
Yeah. All right. Now, these slides were pretty easy because long-time watchers of my channel will know I once did a rant video on some of the laziest futuristic and Cybertronian vehicles I've ever seen. I'm not a fan of those videos looking back, but I still stand by some of my picks. I know I'm surrounded by the Unicron Trilogy fan club over here, but sorry, Cybertron Menasor and Metroplex, the first two on the top row, look awful. Menasor is a drilling excavation machine, and Metroplex is a bucket wheel excavator. And while Menasor's drill arm gimmicks are cool and Metroplex's shovel axe is impressively large, the rest of their alt modes are just blatantly folded up robots, which, by the way, Metroplex's legacy toy barely improves upon. In the same vein, next to Metroplex is Cyberverse Iaconus's spaceship mode, obvious limbs and all. Being a gimmick toy excuses nothing. I picked Iaconus for the first Chug wishlist because I felt if he turned into an Iacon playset for minifigures, he would at least have that going for him. Next row, we start with Bayverse Megatron in his Cybertronian jet mode from the first film. The Voyager and Leader class figures look either clunky or half-baked. And the Voyager, pictured here, has chunks of ice sculpted on, which, in theory, isn't the worst idea in the world because, you know, breaking out of Hoover Dam. My solution? Make them detachable, so you have the option of a clean Megatron. And don't cast his wings in the same translucent plastic. They just look like they're flat out made of ice. Megatron should take a cue from the toxic parts of this fandom and stay out of the sun. Moving on to Titanium War within Megatron. Fun fact, I picked up Titanium G1 Magnus back when the line was still in stores. Megs was there too. Didn't get him because that tank mode. Collapse the legs, stow away the arms, rotate the torso, and cover his head with that small-ass shield. Fucking weak. However that tank looks in the comics, the toy does not do it justice whatsoever. Then there's Studio Series Revenge of the Fallen Soundwave. It's shocking this thing was even greenlit. He's in his Cybertronian satellite mode for all his screen time in that film, and they decide to build this toy around the robot mode. And it really shows. Plus, in some bizarre attempt to maintain some continuity between the two toys, or save money, or both, they reused parts of Studio Series Dark of the Moon Soundwave, including the thighs with those fake car fenders sculpted on them. Definitely not superior. Before we move on to the next slide, anything to say about these?
Do you, so out of all of these, I'd say Movie Megatron has gotten the most amount of redos. Do you hold either the Studio Series or the Masterpiece versions any higher than the original 2007 releases, or is it just a problem innate to the vehicle?
It's one of those things that, for me at least, it's one of those things where by default the Masterpiece and Studio Series like Movie 1 Megatron are the best interpretations of that design. But I guess you are right that it's not a design I'm particularly attached to begin with.
I guess I'm saying is if either of those two toys were the only takes on that design, would it still go on this slide?
Debatable. I really don't know, to be honest. I mean, and especially now with the Last Knights jet mode. What I'm saying is, with him having his jet mode in the Last Knight, that design, like it's hard to look back on the original fondly, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Also, bonus points to Iaconis for having one of the worst names in Transformers history. Oh, you just added a Latin suffix to the end. That's so fucking original, Hasbro.
Yeah, I'll say this much, by the way. So you all know how in episode 7 I went on my big rant on Studio Series Crankcase.
Yes.
Soundwave is so much worse.
Yeah, but at least Crowbar, you had something to. Sorry, with Crankcase, you had something to lose.
Oh dear. But if assuming no one has anything else to say on these.
No, I don't really have anything else to say.
Okay.
I was gonna say something like a tiny bit of defense for Cybertron Menasor, but I couldn't figure out what my defense was. So I'm gonna abdicate on that.
Well, you think about that for the moment, but moving on, I will say that while that Soundwave may be the worst in the line, for the worst take on the Soundwave cassette gimmick, we must turn to Studio Series Core Class Ravage and Concept Art Rumble and Frenzy from the Bumblebee movie, simply because those three turn into nothing! Absolutely nothing! Like, in the past, we've had cassettes, obviously, but also data discs, guitars, communication tablets, headphones, even bombs. Word of mouth is that these two are Cybertronian cassettes. These aren't cassettes. They're fucking car crusher victims.
When did they turn into bombs?
Mom, can we have Beast Box? The Beast Box at home.
Cybertron Soundwave Laserbeak.
Right, I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Oh, and for the record, the Voyager class Soundwave that those two molds go with is a contender, but another Dean will be covering him.
Oh yeah.
So, moving along, then there's animated Jetfire and Jetstorm's jet modes. The cockpit and nose cone sections look fine, but the rear halves are just the robot legs turned sideways with puny elemental-themed wings. I get that in fiction they're experiments, but that doesn't exactly change what we have here. Oh, and don't even bother with the combined vehicle mode. It's an utter joke.
Oh, like mating fish.
But don't think that Earth modes are safe from poor execution either. Classics Deluxe Optimus Prime has one of the worst representations of the G1 Prime cab out there. Misproportioned, the legs don't collapse and holds together like shit. Though for dishonorable mentions, I guess Robot Masters and Hybrid Convoy only look slightly better than this. Titan's Return Broadside is what happens when you try to retool a horned lion into a jet. I mean, I'll give that toy one thing. There's no undercarriage junk because most of the usual crap is either on the side or above for once. The paper-thin wings don't help either. Justice for Broadside.
Broadside's alt mode is so bad that it looks better when you mistransform it.
Oh yeah.
What were they thinking?
What were they thinking?
Do I have to do it?
Yes.
What were they thinking?
It's a fuckload of shit. It's a shitload of fuck, and I just don't like it.
And to wrap up, some beasts. The one thing that you could give the Animorphs Transformers credit for was that most of the animals, including the Trirex, are actually decent. Not astounding, but they work for what they are. Not so with the Deluxe Tobias's Hawk mode. Outside of some nice feather detailing and paintwork on the back, the Hawk head is just the mutant head with the beak covering the mouth, and even then, it looks misaligned. His human legs are folded up against the body, and his hands are just there. You can see them among the talons. It's like the most painful-looking Halloween costume in existence. Next to him, Beast Machine Silverbolt. It's easy to forget that most toys back then were packed in alt mode. This was one of the few exceptions. I wonder why.
I mean, you implied the robot mode is much better.
Well, rumor has it that Silverbolt was initially conceived as a griffin, which you can actually pull off with the robot legs as the griffin's forelegs. And then for some reason he became a condor. So now you have robot limbs resting on top of the wings. To say nothing of the deco that makes the G2 cast wear fucking shades. If the blue plastic was red or orange, I'd at least call it a phoenix motif, but as is, nope.
I think the Griffin fan mode is actually quite handsome and convincing.
Damning with faint praise, I'd say. Finally, the last night's deluxe class Steelbane. Despite how I sounded in episode 11, I don't dislike this toy as much as I let on. But I'm sorry, that Wyvern mode does not hold up. Almost literally with the earlier copies of both him and Skeletron, loose joints and all.
I was going to say, my copy is the loosest toy in my entire collection. It's like a rag doll.
The thing is, beyond that, in the film, all 12 Knights of Cybertron combine into a giant Hydra named Dragonstorm. Good luck getting that in Studio Series, by the way. The leader class Dragonstorm they did in 2017 is made up of only 2 knights, Draconicus and Stormrain. Steelbane is a standalone mold. So they gave it an alt mode based on the undersea ship dragons seen in concept art. The result is less than impressive. Robot feet on his neck and tail, which themselves are jointed in such a way it draws attention to the fact that they're the robot legs. Scrawny rear dragon legs with glaring hands at the back, and the body is just a mess of armatures. Pardon the cliched sentiment, but if Steelbane was a Voyager, some of these issues might have been fixed. To end on a somewhat positive note, I will say Skeletron has a cool copper oxidation thing going on, as well as a creepy new robot hoe. Sorry, I'll say that again. As well
creepy
as
new robot hoe.
robot
Oh my
head,
god!
yes. But I digress. Also, this year, the mold was also retooled into. It was retooled even further into Crimson Flame in celebration of the Year of the Dragon. Between the new parts and the shield accessory, which pegs on his back, the dragon mode on that toy looks better, relatively speaking. Shame he's super rare.
You know, I think Animorphs Tobias would have been better if he transformed from a hawk to a...
Kit, I'm killing you. I'm killing you.
Do I even want to know what he's gonna...
Okay, it's a bit... Are you familiar with Loss? The meme Loss, where it's like this... it's like this visual pattern where you if you notice it, you get really mad. It's like this year's version of that.
Oh god, yeah, Hawktour is fucking it's lost for Gen Alpha.
Yeah.
Good lord.
I was hoping someone would get it.
You just made me angry. That's what you succeeded in. You made me angry. This is a horrible workplace environment. One thing that I will say about Classics Optimus Prime, I think it's kind of funny how he is a technical, since he has the mounted gun on his back vehicle mode with like handlebars that one would presume would be for a person to stand on the rear of the truck and point the gun around.
ISIS convoy.
Indeed. Maybe we can get ID to make that custom one day. Maybe I can commission it.
He's from Iraq. Wouldn't that be insensitive?
I don't know. Maybe make it Taliban convoy instead.
Al Convoy with a Q.
Mujahid Prime.
That's awful.
Okay, shall we move on now?
Yeah, perhaps. It's you up next, Char.
Yes. Okay, so we have some figures that we've beat on before on this podcast. So I think I'll do a bit of a lightning round here. Of course, we have Studio Series Blitzwing, my despised, the most frustrating jet mode probably of all time. It's everything. It's everything that an F4 Phantom shouldn't be. I don't know why. And on top of that, it's not even a good-looking generic aircraft. It has no features that I think look good. It looks bloated. It looks fat. It has gratuitous robot mode kibble coming out from under the wings. Because of course, yes, we can all see all the business that's hidden on there. No one is fooled. No one is fooled by that. And of course, we have Quake, poor Quake, a pile of robot scrap piled on top of some treads, topped off with the top third of a tank turret.
It's like he took a cheese grater to an actual tank.
It's what would happen if you. It's the equivalent of stacking pancakes too high, but it's a tank. We have, of course, Legacy Blitzwing. 2 Blitzwings here, I just noticed. With Hulk hands included. I don't know what they were going for with that. Maybe some sort of smoke launcher or missile system. Not very good at all. Why does it have the protrusion in the front? Was anyone really dying to have the tank mode protrusion on the toy? I don't think so. And of course, we have the jet mode, the very, very poorly butchered MiG-21 with half of a tank hanging out from below the wings. Poor show overall. And Windblade. Maybe I'll come off as a little controversial here, but I don't think Windblade has had any good vehicle modes, because every single vehicle mode where you have the very obvious robot legs hanging off the top of the vehicle, they don't look good. They look very obviously like they couldn't figure out how to integrate them into the aircraft, and so now it's just part of the design, and so no one bothers in trying to change it. It looks bad, and It's stinky, and also those VTOL turbines are piddly. And then of course we have as foreshadowed, Bumblebee movie Soundwave. Bumblebee movie Soundwave commits a similar sin to very many modern Cybertronian Transformers and Cybertronian Transformers throughout the history of Transformers, in that it just doesn't turn into anything. He's a block of nothing. I know he's supposed to be some sort of hover tank or hover vehicle, but he doesn't read as anything. It's not like he has like hover plates or something like that, something that implies some system of locomotion. He just looks like Soundwave has been folded up into a block of robot. And it's very annoying, especially when there are vehicle modes, there are Cybertronian vehicle modes that read very well as what they're trying to be, even in the category of hover tanks. It's very frustrating.
I know we probably went over this at the top of the episode, but have either of y'all seen Transformers 1?
No. I think Rune has.
Then you're going to be very disappointed because Soundwave turns into another version of this.
Oh my
TF1. Except this time he actually does it on screen. They're really trying to make the Soundwave burger a thing.
What happened to Soundwave just being what happened to Cybertronian Soundwave just being an ATV or a van? It worked just fine.
I'd prefer him to just be a car.
Or if you're gonna make him a block of robot, lean into it and make him like a big block of computer, you know, with like wires trailing off, you know, and a screen and buttons. That would be cool.
He turns into a MacBook Pro.
He turns into Megatron's gaming setup.
We get the first real gear robot in 20 years.
God, that'd be pretty fucking good.
But,
Soundwave.
Yes.
I need to improve my rank on CS:GO.
Soundwave, get in here! The new Halloween contracts just dropped on Team Fortress 2!
Soundwave!
Into a Steam Deck.
Soundwave! The new Fortnite Battle Pass just dropped. I need your
Soundwave, buy me more V-Bucks! But, yeah, talking
Soundwave.
about...
I'm sorry, Soundwave. I didn't mean to get you a virus. I just needed the free Robux. They lied to me, Soundwave. The humans deceived me. My most faithful warrior.
But, yeah. So, weird thing about Windblade, I neither agree nor disagree with your assessment of her vehicle modes. They have their problems, but you know, I still like them for the most part. It's just she's a completely original character. They could have done literally anything, and they still chose to just put the shins on top of the jet.
You know what it feels like to me? It feels like Windblade's alt mode was just such a token thing. Like, they designed the robot, and they were like, oh, wait, we have to make it turn into a vehicle? Oh, fuck, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. And it's like the cardinal sin of modern Transformers design, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Soundwave! Warhammer Space Marine 2 dropped, and Shockwave is asking me to hop on.
Right away, Lord Megatron. Beep, boop, boop, beep, boop. I think Runestone's AFK, and I'm glad he's not here to witness this. Oh, fuck. So, is that a wrap on least favorites?
Well,
I
hang
think
on. hang on, before we change slides. Yeah, I mean, I did foreshadow Soundwave. Not that impressive. I've seen concept art where the hover tank or hover ship, whatever it is supposed to be, looks a bit better, but that's not what we got. And well, I mean, if I want to technically count it, I have Legacy Skullgrin, who Quakers retooled from. Don't know how to feel about his alt mode, to be honest.
He turns
a
into
block of
nothing, but he's so fun.
And Legacy Blitzwing, I'm not as down on this toy as you three are, but there have been better triple changes out there.
Yeah, like Blitzwing from Titan's Return.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about a triple changer is generally you sacrifice one mode for the benefit of the other. But in this case, it was like
they sacrificed all three.
They sacrificed all three, yeah, for the benefit of the price tag.
What did you lose? All three of my modes. What did it cost you? Big hand. All right, let's move on to our wish lists.
All right.
Alt modes we'd like to see in Transformers. I have some very interesting. I personally, I'm a very interesting person, so I have some very interesting alt modes on my wish list. The top right is the Alfa Romeo 158, the very first Formula One car to win a championship. Driven by Juan Manuel Fangio, Giuseppe Farina, and Luigi Fagioli, among with a couple minor drivers. I think we don't really see alt modes from the 1950s, and I just think it would make a really, really cool robot mode, and it would. I just want to see more old timey alt modes. Top middle is the lunar module from the Apollo missions. I don't really think I have to explain this choice. It's just kind of obvious. It's like a very iconic vehicle. Everyone knows what it looks like. It could turn into a fun transformer. The third one, I thought I would throw in an animal, so I threw in the Timna parrot. I had one for about 10 years, and she was a very, very sweet bird. So I'd like to see it in plastic form as a transformer. Bottom left is what I don't want to say affectionately call it, but because there's no affection involved, but I call it the modern DeLorean. And people, if you hear that, people immediately think you mean that in a positive connotation, but I really do think it is the modern DeLorean, because when the DeLorean first came out, it was a fucking joke of a car. Everyone hated it. Everyone derided it. It was you would be embarrassed to be seen in public with one. And that reputation would still hold to this day if it weren't for Back to the Future. So, and I think the Cybertruck is a very funky design, and I think it would lend itself, the shape of it, to a interesting robot mode and an interesting well, maybe not an interesting transformation, but like the very sharp angles of it would lend itself to a very visually interesting robot mode, I think. Low poly. It's like the F-117, except without the technical limitations. They just did that on purpose. Except the F-117 actually looks cool. And then
reflect radar waves. They just did that.
And then my last choice is Garrett suggested you could retool the Cybertruck into a Halo Warthog. That's actually not a bad shout. They could get more than one use out of it.
Yeah.
That's actually clever. And then the fifth choice is a Rubik's Cube. It would make for a neat collaborative piece. Though I've taken apart and put back together a Rubik's Cube before, they definitely would not be able to
Have it
make
work,
it actually work as a puzzle and transform into a robot.
I think
The internals just won't allow for it. But I think it would be cool if, like, maybe like the first 2 steps of the transformation could be like, turning the faces.
The best they could probably do would be that you could like put your own stickers on. So you
Yeah,
could have a jumbled one, or you could have like a clean one.
yeah, yeah. I can see that. That would be interesting.
And then Toy Hacks would get a lot of mileage out of selling replacement sticker packs for it.
Get one to turn it into the Allspark
Oh yeah, I was
or
just
an
talking about,
Energon
like,
Cube.
I was just talking about people who like got bored of it being jumbled and wanted it to be clean, or got bored of it being clean and wanted it to be jumbled. And so they buy an extra sticker pack. But your idea works better, yeah.
Yeah.
Turn it into the fucking Allspark.
You turn it into animated Blur.
You are aware that there is a transforming robot Rubik's Cube out there already, right?
No, I'm not.
I'm pretty sure there is. Yes, there is. There is.
Ooh, send it to me.
Yeah, it's a Chugcratic thing actually.
Oh, sweet.
Also, Hasbro owns Rubik, so this would actually be like a pretty easy thing to license.
Oh, so I can just blame them for how shitty it turns.
Yeah. But yeah.
Oh, wow, that looks cool as hell. I wish I could throw it up on the screen right now.
In terms of the lunar lander, I've actually had this idea for a very long time, but it was slightly different. My idea was that you could have the lunar lander become a sort of core robot / headmaster, and then every other stage of the Apollo 11 craft could become either it would be like just split up and become one big robot, a la RID Optimus or RID Ultra Magnus.
Ooh, I have another idea. So, in lunar orbit, the landing module would dock with the the command module, which stayed up in space. What if it was like a duocon deal, where if you dock them, you can transform it into one big robot?
Oh yeah, that could work. Yeah, they combine into one robot. I still like the idea. I still like the idea that like every stage would be like a new powered up form.
Ooh, that works too.
So,
that's
like,
ambitious.
You could have like stage 1, it's like the first power up. Then you have the second boot. Then you have the second fuel tank that goes on. That's another layer of armor. And then you have the final stage, or the first stage in terms of launching, and that goes on. That's like the super duper robot mode. Like in Lunar Kaiser, we'll call it, or something like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
You should design that.
I should. That's an idea I've had since I was like 12.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, Runestone, do you have any feedback on these?
I can't really add much to this.
All right, in that case, we can move right along.
Alrighty.
Got 3 slides here.
Yeah, I'm getting so much mileage today. Right. I've said it before that as much as I love Beast Wars, there are certain animals that I'm shocked that they didn't do in the actual toy line. Most of the ones shown here feel like obvious retools to me. Last episode, I pitched a Hippo Transformer as a Rhinox remold, but they also could have done a zebra or any other equine creature from Map Kick. Foreshadowing. A fox from Wolfang, And just to address this, the recent reveal of the Naruto collab does give us a fox transformer of sorts, but for a more realistic fox, we're still waiting. Then there's a fire salamander, which I suspect would be a flip changer done similar to iguanas. Thinking about it, I'm not sure an octopus would work as a clawjaw retool. Transformation-wise, the mantle on a squid is long enough to split into the robot mode legs, with the fins as feet. Not so much here. Then there's a raven. I don't know how well it would work using the basic class Airraiser mold. Then again, they retooled Kingdom Airraiser into a Corvid of sorts with Legacy Filch, so what do I know? There is a user on DeviantArt called Tribler who has done Beast Wars OCs that turn into some of the creatures you see here. Check them out when you can. Before we move on, yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think an octopus transformer could work because, but it would. I think the simplest way to pull it off would just be having the limbs split into the tentacles.
All I'm imagining
that's
is
the first solution I would come up with. Sort of like how what was it? Beast Machine's Black Arachnia did it.
Beast Machines and Animated and Black Arachnia.
Yeah, I think that would be a plausible way to pull it off. Just have to make them longer.
Yeah, longer and maybe more joints. Maybe add a locking. Maybe add a locking system in there, so that when they tab together, they the shins and the thighs become solid. So you only have one knee, so like a billion knees. What else we got here? I like I think these are all neat choices. Fox good. I like foxes. Yeah.
What do you think of the Naruto collab?
Oh, it's it's an interesting concept, but I don't think it's executed the best. Just in terms of robot modes, not really much of a Naruto guy myself much either. Of the big,
to be honest, the figure that I'm more interested in that set is the frog because its design is very familiar.
Yeah.
Gamakichi looks like a spitting image of someone else.
Yeah, and gives me hope of what we might be getting in the future.
Yeah, but we can take a deep dive into that later.
Yes.
So,
I mean, if they don't do anything with it, it'll be a slap in the face. Okay, I'm done.
Oh dear.
What was?
Yes, if you have something to say, just spit it out.
I already did a spitting pun.
Dear, I'm tired. Anyway, so next slide. Back in the 90s, the manga magazine Comic Bomb Bomb had a Beast Wars character design contest. Artist Shoji Imaki drew the bot on the top left as an example submission, a maximal named Escargon, which gives us a snail. Dead ends in Ammonite, by the way. The winning entry of that contest is on the bottom left, Starupper, who we've talked about before on this podcast. Turns into a kangaroo with boxing gloves. All I can say is toys of both characters now, please. Finishing off the top row are a couple more beasts, an anteater, a potential arch nemesis for Inferno, a vulture. Given how vultures are often depicted in a grim light, if there's any bird I see as a Predacon, it's that one. Finishing off the bottom row, first two, the dinosaurs. I'd like to see a redeco of Dilophosaurus into a new Dilophosaurus Predacon, and also a Parasaurolophus.
Okay,
I'll get there one way or another. On the bottom right is Prime Grimwing, who turns into an Ursagriff. And if Hasbro are not going to do that owlbear transformer I want so bad, then this would be ideal for a Fusor Icebird. Like, it would be the perfect beast mode, in my opinion. At least one Digibash exists. Don't know about actual customs. And then this nicely segues onto my last slide, unless anyone has anything to say about these.
Not a whole lot, actually.
I don't have any particular opinions, I suppose.
It'd be cool if instead of maybe a Parasaurolophus, you could do a Lambeosaurus, and the crest could actually turn into a hatchet.
Good work.
Also, I feel like you could integrate the claws on the Anteater into robot mode weapons pretty well. Because remember, Anteaters have big claws.
This is another that Anteater is actually another character that would be an interesting beast, like another beast. What's the word I'm looking for? Beast formers. Like if it could be, there's an Anteater character called Power Nozzle, and it would be potentially an homage to Gozzle, the G1 Sparkabot.
Oh yeah.
And
and he's the. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, if he had like a if he was part of the 1997 Beast Wars basic class lineup, the snout section would raise up like a tank turret. That would be his attack mode.
Oh, I was gonna say that the nose could like end up on his back as a homage to the original Guzzle's tank gun rather. But yes, that would be cool. Anyway, I think next slide.
Yes, this segues on nicely onto my last slide. Mythical creatures, outside of dragons, that is. Now, yes, we have seen most of these elsewhere in the franchise. Beast Machines Battle Unicorn redecoed into Universe Magnus Stampede. Then there's RID-01 Bruticus as a Cerberus, and G1 Sinatwin as an Orthrus. However, in Beast Wars, we just got the one dragon. No Unicorn or Pegasus from Mudkick, though with the latter you'd have to make the wings removable. And as for a Phoenix, a Cerberus, and Orthrus, you're on your own there. To wrap things up, there were... What?
Unless you count a certain figure.
To wrap things up, there were 3 original molds planned for Beast Wars Telemachus, one of which transformed into a Manticore. This character would crop up in Beast Wars Uprising as a Predacon with the ever-inspiring name Manticon. And you can bet I'll be bringing these designs up again in the future. But anyway, I'm done.
I would be down to see more mythical creatures in Transformers in terms of like Transformers and more beast modes. I feel like if they were going to do a unicorn, you would be inviting the specter of a My Little Pony crossover, though.
Yeah, I think I think the Year of the Dragon retool Dragonfire was a step in the right direction. He turns into a Chinese dragon. I think I'm pretty sure they removed the wings. I can't remember off the top of my head. But as far as like a Phoenix goes, best I can give you is the 8th Air Razor repaint. Sorry. I think that's all I have to say about these.
Yeah. I think it would be cool if we could get like maybe at some point in the future a line of like mythical Transformers creatures. Maybe in opposition to another faction that turns into something else. And I know that was kind of what Beast Hunters was, but I feel like more in the vein of the original Beast Wars rather than robot creatures would be cool. I don't see that happening anytime soon, but I think that'd be a cool idea to do.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah. Anyway,
moving on. Europe last.
Yes, we saved the best for last. Right, so
I wonder what Char's going to pick.
if I went over every single thing that I want a transformer of, we would be here till 2 o'clock till 2 p.m. tomorrow. So I'm not going to do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose some representatives. I'm going to choose some representatives of the kinds of things I would like to see. Instead of a bunch of specific examples. So, starting off with the monoplane fighters, monoplane prop aircraft is the Spitfire as an example. I'd just like to see more. I think it's a cool aesthetic. I think that it can be done well, as we've talked about with biplanes. It's a similar affair with monoplanes, and we don't see enough. I'd also, in the similar vein, I'd like to see more jet transformers that are specifically based on the very early days of jet aviation. Here we have an example being the ME-262, but it could be the Meteor, any of those very early jets. I'd like to see more of those sort of shapes in jet formers. I think that would be an interesting change of pace, considering every single jet fighter transformer we get these days has the sharp lines, the jagged edges of modern stealth fighter aircraft, because that's what's the thing right now. But I'd like to see us more rounded and classic shapes of those older aircraft. In a similar vein, we have the fish bed on the bottom right. The fish bed I'm using as an example of the sort of mid Cold War aircraft I'd like to see more of. That's what I was hoping to see with Blitzwing as an F4, but we didn't get that. We got the fucking F4 that we have at home. But I'd like
Seethe, Mauled.
Yes.
Cool.
But I'd like to see more aircraft of that era, which ironically was the original suite of aircraft that Transformers started out with, because it started out in the 80s. So I'd like to see that sort of mid-Cold War era aircraft. I'd like to see more of. And so what I'd like to see more of as well, or what I'd like to see at all, are in terms of land vehicles, are there was a certain doctrine when it came to building tanks that came between the First World War up until the Second World War. And that was that we would effectively build our tanks like ships on the ground, complete with a myriad of guns on them, all on separate turrets, with the ability to practically broadside someone with matching long silhouettes. And they were really cool, and they made for great fodder for military parades. And then World War II happened, and we realized that they suck. But I'd love to see a transformer of them. So I've used an example of a old Russian tank whose name escapes me. as an example.
I can't save you out of this one, buddy.
Oh well. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have the what could be described as the Rolling Fortress, another somewhat outdated doctrine when it comes to tank design, where tanks were where the idea was that you would build a tank with as much frontal armor as possible and as big a gun as you could fit, as you could manage, rather, and simply have it point at the enemy and presume that they would not be penetrated whatsoever from the front and hope that they couldn't get to your side. This fell out of favor when we realized that tanks were more suited to mobile warfare. And so we moved towards the more MBT-style tanks that we have today, which is what most modern Transformers are based on. But once again, I think it would be really cool to have a Transformer that turns into a big old tank with a big gun that sticks out the front and like 2-meter thick armor or whatever. And then a bit different, we have a PT boat. PT boats were something quite common at both sides of the Second World War and after, and they were basically speedboats that were specifically designed to deploy torpedoes to destroy, hopefully, larger ships. And we don't get enough boats in general. We don't get enough naval stuff. And I just think the idea of a speedboat that's got weapons specifically designed to destroy bigger targets on it, I think that's a cool concept, and I think it would be cool to have a toy of it that turns into a robot.
We don't have enough boat Transformers.
We really don't. We really don't. So, does anyone have any notes about this slide?
Well, I don't really know anything about the specifics of these vehicles, but I can safely say that I would like more funky vehicle modes.
Yeah. Once again, the specific choices that I've made are just like examples, because like if I went into the specifics, we'd be here literally all day and then into tomorrow. But yes, I too would like more funky vehicles, more funny outdated designs. Really,
I feel like you have a couple more funky ones.
I do. All right, so we'll start off with the top right. Modeling for us an example of a bipedal walker. We have a Sentinel from Warhammer 40k, but my point is not to say that I want a Transformer that turns specifically into a Sentinel. What I want is an example of a Transformers toy that turns into a bipedal walker of some description. And one might ask, Char, surely that's redundant. Surely a robot that turns into a walking vehicle is pointless when they're already a walking robot. But I ask you, how different really is this from an example of a Transformer that turns into something like a Tyrannosaurus, which is also a large bipedal creature? The only real difference is the aesthetic and the fact that one might have a big gun on it while the other has big teeth. Next up, we have the Russian. These are Russian land attack craft. They are hovercraft, and their whole gimmick, I suppose, is that they are able to hover all the way up to the land, deflate their hover skirt, and then open up the front to deploy vehicles and troops, kind of like a landing craft. And I think that's a quite cool concept, and I think it would be pretty cool to have as a Transformers design, as well as just like more hovercrafts in general. Sea Spray needs some friends.
And some enemies.
And some enemies. And he needs a rival, really. Next up, we have an Echloroplan. Is anyone familiar with Echloroplans? Or Echranoplan, I'm sorry. Echronoplans. Echronoplans are interesting because they look like planes, but they are actually naval craft. And the whole idea of an Echronoplan was that they used the ground effect to glide.
I know what that is.
To glide just above the water surface. So you are able to basically fly over the water and have a much heavier aircraft with the speed of an aircraft without having to have as big engines. The downside being that that you could only use these on relatively calm waters. But I think it's a very unique concept, and I think it would be pretty cool to see as a Transformer. I know that the amazing Spino, being amazing as he is, has done a concept of Tidal Wave as one of these, both as a normal robot and as a shark creature. So that's something I'd like to see. Next up is a classic battleship. I would like to see a proper battleship Transformer. Because if you've noticed, something about naval Transformers in general is we don't really have any battleship Transformers. We have destroyers. We have more modern style carriers, but no gunboats. I've never seen a gunboat Transformer. The closest I can think of is the Energon Sharkticons, maybe. But other than that, not really. And that's something I'd like to see. A Transformer that turns into a dedicated battleship. Just for the novelty of it, really.
At least Toys Easy has you covered on that front.
Yep, they certainly do. Next up is an artillery piece. I am of the persuasion, and in fact, that I think an artillery piece would be the perfect middle ground for a modern Megatron, a modern Earth mode Megatron. And the reason I say that is because I think that one of the things about Megatron being a gun that plays into Megatron's character is that a gun is like a tool exclusively for violence. There's nothing else to it. You know, it doesn't move on its own. It doesn't, almost all of its mass is dedicated to pushing bullets at a very fast rate towards your enemy. And on a macro scale, that's what an artillery piece is. And I think it plays well with the original idea. But also, I think it would be a nice novelty to have just an artillery piece Transformer. And once again, Toys Easy has me covered on that front, yes. But I would like to see it. I'd like to see Hasbro give it a shot. And finally, we have a Streamliner train modeled for us by the Mallard. I don't think we've ever gotten a Streamliner style Transformer. Or we've had one, which was Hubcap, but I'd like to see a Streamliner train from Hasbro. Especially considering they were, we've gotten bullet trains before, and the Streamliners were arguably the predecessor to modern bullet trains. So I think it would be. I just think it would be another interesting and unique thing to do for Hasbro and for Transformers. So yeah, that's all of my picks for this slide.
That is a beautiful train.
It is. It really is.
Cybernetic Geek says the Killdozer would make a great alternate mode. I can't help but agree, but only if a reasonable bot is forced to do unreasonable things.
Would it come with the muffler shop?
The destructible muffler shop.
No. The box is like stylized to look like the inside of a muffler shop.
I'd buy that.
Yeah. And you open the package by like opening the garage door.
Stop. We can only get so based.
Yeah.
You have one last alternate mode, it looks like, before
Yes.
we wrap things up and move on to
Yes, the
Q&A.
Strato Launch Rock. I think this would be an excellent opportunity to do a combining character, because the whole point of the Strato Launch Rock is that it is meant to launch things from low orbit. The idea is that you can attach a smaller aircraft in the space between the two fuselages, and have something, and then launch it once you've reached a certain altitude. And I think that would make it excellent fodder for something like a Star Saber update, where you could have the Strato Launch Rock turn into be the equivalent of the V-Star and transform into power armor, and then have the smaller aircraft transform into the mini robot, and then transform into the torso or whatever of the robot mode, of the super robot mode. And yes, Spino did also do this as a concept for his version of Skylinks, which is another way you could do this design. And honestly, it was quite inspired to have Skylinks become a two-headed monster that transforms into this. And that is another clever way you could do it. But I think it would be a very interesting concept, and I think it would. I think you can integrate some playability with the Strato launch feature of the aircraft as well with it. But yeah, that's all of my picks.
Slugslinger's nephew.
So,
I suppose so.
again, yeah. Is that it for alt modes?
That's all of my picks.
Runestone, anything to add, or shall we just move on to Q&A?
I guess World War II vehicles have their charm. Well, any military vehicles have their charm in Transformers. One that comes to mind is a plane called the Corsair, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yes, the Corsair. Corsair would be pretty cool.
I think wasn't it G2 Ransack?
Yes, it was.
That turned into it.
Yes.
I get the feeling that there's a GoBot as well.
Yes, there was. It wasn't Bad Boy. It was
We can answer this later.
It was Bentwing. His name was Bentwing. And he's a very funny looking. He looks like he has one of those spinny hats. He looks, if you spun his hat around, it would go, you know? But yes, Corsair is a very, very, very pretty aircraft, and I would not be at all against having a new toy of one, or any Transformers toy of one, really.
Yeah. Moving on to Q&A, our first question comes from Carter Prime 17, who asks, what is an alt mode that's not been used yet you want to see get an official toy? It has to be a vehicle, so no soda dispenser or game console. Well, Carter Prime, just watch this episode, I guess.
Well, I mean, is he saying like alt modes that have appeared in media?
Well,
because that's what I'm presuming.
I don't think so, because I guess soda dispenser would be dispensor.
Yeah, and game console would be the Xbox.
I could potentially answer this question as my wish list was basically all animals. I think back to TJ's video and a seaplane. The closest we got, I think, was Transmetal Air Razor's quote unquote vehicle mode, but that's about it.
And that's a rough one, let me tell you.
Actually, come to think of it, that might be another one in which a GoBot has taken the alt mode of.
You know what? You know what I would like to see? I would like to see from media a media alt mode that hasn't gotten a vehicle mode or hasn't got an official toy.
Yes.
Oh no, I had something in my head, but it's gone. Never mind.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Sad. I'm drawing a blank here.
Oh, animated star screen.
Oh,
Animate all the animated Decepticons with their Cybertronian alt modes. I'd like to see toys of those.
yeah. A Cybertronian Bumblebee would be nice too.
Yes, we came so close with that one. Didn't you know, Kit?
No, not really.
Oh, there was like the CAD files for Cybertron animated Bumblebee are out there. It just never got made.
Oh, wow. Zeta TF suggested the 1917 Fokker DR1, the Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost, the Schwerer Gustav railway gun. I have that on my shelf. And Zeppelin, just to name a few.
I have the Fokker DR1 on my shelf.
Yeah, but does yours transform?
Yes.
Oh. Congratulations.
It's the Make Toys one.
Oh, nice.
Is it Make Toys or is it? Oh, I forget. One of the third-party companies.
Our next question comes from Cryptid Person, who says, "What are your takes on different types of Chug windows, and do your preferences vary between vehicle and robot modes? Example: Origins Bumblebee has a clear blue windshield in vehicle mode, but powder blue in robot mode."
I would prefer, if you can't have a at least somewhat sculpted interior, just have a blacked out window.
Yeah, black works the best. I don't mind certain shades of blue, but I wouldn't call it I wouldn't call it a cure-all for this sort of problem. But I definitely prefer opaque to clear.
Yeah,
just because, especially since a lot of these windows are on hinges, like Studio Series Jazz's windshield, that one's prone to cracking. But if it was just opaque, it would be a little more sturdy. And I don't get an awful lot out of having clear windows 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Like sometimes it works, and sometimes it works great. Especially in robot mode, it's nice to have, like, if a character has door wings, it's kind of cool to have translucent windows on those doors. But like, if you're just having translucent windows for the sake of translucent windows, I'd rather they just be opaque.
One thing I really like, though, is back during UT, name dropping UT. Pretty much all of the jet formers, at least from Energon and Cybertron, all of them had sculpted cockpits. And those sculpted cockpits obviously had clear windows that you could see inside. And I always think that's a neat touch. So if you're going to do it, if you're going to have clear windows, you should have something that's worth having them be clear for, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
The big problem with clear windows is that it's not just the windows that are clear. They have to paint the rest of the surrounding plastic, and it results in bad color mismatching on certain figures.
Yeah, we're far away from the days of clear plastic inserts.
Yeah. Or worse still, you have clear plastic and opaque plastic on the same toy. Or rather, clear plastic that is color matched to painted plastic. Universe Ironhide.
Yes.
Oof. Oof.
Our final question is something of a case study, I guess. Cryptid Person also asks, would Legacy Blitzwing have been better if they gave you the option to separate the tank and jet out of the box? As sold, you only need to remove one pin, and almost nobody does that. Picks on black background are with one pin removed. Picks on a white background have the shoulders on ball joints as well.
I don't think it would make the toy much better. It would just defeat it. It's like throwing in the towel, basically. You know, it's a triple changer toy. It's meant to triple change. You're just taking that one alt mode and putting it somewhere else. Does it make for better individual alt modes? I mean, sort of debatable. The tank mode doesn't look very good, but the jet mode certainly looks better.
That tank looks kind of sad.
Yeah. It is cope. I think this toy just needed to be redesigned from the ground up, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You can only polish a turd so far.
And what you're left with is just a shiny turd.
Yeah.
Mythbusters prove that.
So, yeah.
Runestone, what say you on Legacy Blitzwing?
I can't add much. Yeah, get Legends Blitzwing. That's all I can say.
All right, then I guess that's a wrap on this month's topic. This was very interesting insight to what we look for and value in our alternate modes. The kinds of things we would like to see and the kinds of things we like to see as it is. We really got to figure out like an actual way to begin and end episodes. It's been more than a year.
Didn't we have the homework bit?
Your homework is to come up with homework for us to give you because we always fumble this part.
Yeah. This is like one of them, online only classes.
Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live.
Okay, well then, I actually do have homework. Your homework for this seminar is to come up with your own system for what you look for in an alt mode. You can even give it a fancy acronym like I did. Nib.
Turn it backwards. It spells bin, which is where yours belongs. Oh!
Can't believe I'm being undermined by fellow faculty members.
My homework for all of you is to come up with Beast Wars OC designs. That's it. Using animal modes that have not been featured in the toy line before, like the ones I've just listed.
And my assignment to you all is write us a proper introduction and outroduction.
Your outro could be featured on the Chugcratic seminar if you win this if you win this competition. There is no other prize.
All right. This has been Kid Catastrophe.
This has been definitely not Char.
And this has been Runestone.
Class dismissed.